Okay, picking up where we left off, we're talking about the APA format and how we're going to have what I call assignment 0, which is just a test assignment, and I'm going to give you all the words, and your task is just to do the formatting. Okay. So, moving right along, how difficult is this course? Well, I tell you, it's probably going to be 2 or 3 hours outside of the classroom. We don't actually have a classroom, but, outside of just watching the videos. Videos are typically maybe an hour, hour and a half range. So, that's kind of what you should expect. This is kind of a fast-paced course. I mean, 1 chapter a week, and there's an awful lot of stuff to cover. And then you're going to have a journal entry to do, a tiny little assignment. It's just an assignment with 4 questions. And then there's going to be either a quiz or assignment due every single week. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to put anything on your calendar. Just think, every single week something is due. Okay. So, a little bit more about the exams and stuff. Since this is an online course, you're doing all this from home. That means it's open book, open notes, open everything. Now, you might think, woohoo, that's great. But on the other hand, this is timed. You have an hour and 15 minutes to go through 25 questions. Well, 27 if you count extra credit questions. If you kind of do the math, that's only a couple of minutes per question, which means you really, really don't have the time to go, oh, well, let me go look that up. Or let me go punch this into Google. No. Yes, you have access to the book, the notes, and the Google. But you don't have the time to do that. You're going to have to know the material, okay? You're just going to have to know it to be able to pass these quests, okay? I mentioned we're going to have an entire lecture period that's just going to go over review. I'm actually going to give you the list of topics that are going to appear on the exam. That way you won't have to study this much information when I'm going to tell you that we're only going to cover this amount. So, cool. All right. Okay, same thing for the take-home quiz. They're obviously open book, open notes, about 20 questions, 1 hour time limit. And let me talk about my lecture notes. So, at the beginning of every lecture, I work up a set of things I want to talk about. Really, these are just my notes to make sure I'm covering everything, right? But after the lecture, I actually post my notes into Canvas. Now, the weird part about this, I don't provide them to you before the lecture. I provide them to you after the lecture. In other words, if we're in week 3, so week 3's lecture, that's when I'm going to release my lecture notes for week 2. Okay? The idea is if I gave you my lecture notes up front, you probably wouldn't take any notes at all. And yeah, you do need to take notes. Now, when it comes time for me to write quizzes, by the way, I don't use any test banks for any of my courses, so I'm looking at my lecture notes going, hey, that'd make a good question. And I'm going through my notes, that'd make a good question. So if I'm looking at the lecture notes to make the quizzes, you think maybe you should be looking at the lecture notes too? That'd be kind of smart, huh? Yeah, okay. So please do look at the lecture notes to help you study for the quizzes and the exams. Okay, assignments. Reading comprehension is key. When I write an assignment, it's probably no more than like 5 sentences, right? I mean, it's a tiny little paragraph that I try to convey to you, what it is you want. I mean, I don't write an entire huge 14-page document describing what it is I want. So please, every single word in there is precious and it probably means something. Don't skip over any words. Don't stop reading in the half of a sentence. Please read. You're going to be turning in a single Word document, or perhaps later on, if there may be a requirement for you to submit multiple documents, and if so, we're going to zip them together. I have what I call the standard file naming convention for when you submit documents. This is a little weird, but hey, it's okay for me to be weird. And that is, this is how it's going to look. It's going to be CIS4350 space, assignment 1, 2, 3, whatever it is, space, your last name, dot, and then your first name. So that's 2 in exactly 2 spaces. Okay? Okay. We're submitting everything through Canvas, and it's going to be using a thing called VeriCite. It's a plagiarism checking tool. And yeah, when you submit things, it's going to check to see if all you did was just copy and paste from the internet. And if so, I'll just send it back to you with a 0 saying, I'm sorry, you need to redo it. Normally, I allow you to have multiple submissions. In other words, you submit a paper and I go, well, that's okay. I mean, I'll give you an 80 on that. But here's some suggestions on where you can do things better. You look at my notes and go, oh, okay, I completely forgot that. Let me fix that. You send it back. And you'll probably, let's just say, for example, you get a 100 on the second attempt. I'll take 5 points off, for that retry. So you just raised your grade from an 80 to a 95. That's pretty cool, huh? Yeah, and right. The whole idea behind this thing is for you to learn, right? I mean, it's not just for me to, torture students, beat them over the head with assignments. The whole idea is you're supposed to learn something. So the whole point of multiple submissions is to do that. Now, that doesn't work on quizzes. But for writing assignments, yeah. And clearly do your own work, otherwise you'll just annoy me. So here's how I grade the papers. First one is, did you read and follow instructions? I mean, if the assignment said, write a paper that's 4 pages long, is it 4 pages long? And if I said, I want you to include a table, did you include a table? It sounds simple, but you'd be surprised. And then, how well did you do research and citation, and how well did you actually cover the topic? So 30% is on your writing. 35%, the highest one in this entire category, is original content. I do not want you to just regurgitate what other people said. Here is a review of all the 4 documents that I read. No, that's not. So, if you're pretty good at math, if you turned in a review that had no original content, what's the highest grade you can make? That would be a 65. Okay. Yeah, I want it readable, organized, and well formatted. We're talking about APA formatting and that kind of stuff. And this is not an English class, so spelling and grammar, 5%. What the heck? Okay, but you got to understand now, original content is the key. Okay, cool. So, I do have a late policy. The way it works is practically everything is due at 11:59 p.m. on Sunday. Typically, I start grading the next day. Now, I'm not going to tell you I'm going to get it all done, but I'll try my best to have it done within a day. Okay? Now, there's going to be a 5-point penalty per day for being late. Okay? So let's say, for example, you get a perfect score of a 100. But you're 4 days late. So that's 100 minus 4 days times 5 points a day means you get an 80. Now, if you're pretty good at math, what happens if you're 20 days late? Well, 20 times 5 is 100, so you're not going to get any score at all. When you resubmit something the next day, right? It's due on, midnight on Sunday. I graded on Monday. You resubmit it on Monday. Well, that counts. So that's 5 points off. So the most you can make in a resubmission is 95. Okay? And by the way, there's no fractions. Okay? If you're 10 minutes late, you're late. Look at it this way. When I'm grading, I don't even look at the time. I look at the date. If it's due on the 12th and the submission is on the 13th, that's a day late. Okay. Cool? All right. Now, this is kind of my grading history. This isn't necessarily the history for this one particular course. But this basically kind of shows, where I am in the flow. Is this am I a really hard professor? No, most people make a B in this course. Am I a really easy professor? No, most people make a B in my course. So this is just to kind of show you that I'm kind of a middle of the road kind of guy. Most people end up making a B. Okay, so I mentioned to you guys before that I really, really, really like you to learn. Because the point of these assignments and quizzes isn't to torture you. It's actually to help you learn, believe it or not. So I'm really keen on this feedback. You submit an assignment, I'm going to tweak, I'm going to add some comments to it, and send it back to you. I really, really, really want you to read those comments. Okay. So here's how it works. There's basically 2 main ways you're going to get feedback. The one is actually in your document. You submit a document, I'm going to mark it up, and you're going to have to go to the gradebook, open the document, and look. Okay, if you forget to open the document and look, you will not see the things that I tell you that are wrong. And if I say, don't do this, and then you do it the exact same way the next time for the next assignment, I'm going to assume that you didn't read any of the things I told you to do. Okay? So please do read the feedback, and you're going to have to open the document to be able to see the comments. Okay? I also might throw in some Easter eggs. An Easter egg would be something like, it'll say, if you're reading this, then submit this code through a Canvas email, and I'll give you 5 points on the next quiz. Ooh, pretty cool, huh? So, you think I'm serious about this feedback stuff? Okay. The other thing is, I actually have a discussion forum, and the forum is not private. It's for the whole class to see. And that's where I'm going to talk about general things. I'm going to talk about, a lot of people had a problem with question number 4, or this particular assignment. A lot of people misunderstood this part, so it's kind of general comments. So I really want you to read both your personal comments that are in your gradebook and the general ones, okay? Cool. Now, occasionally, I may actually send you a Canvas email. Let me give you a scenario. Let's say, for example, you're taking a full load of 5 or 6 courses at the university, and it comes time for you to submit assignment number 2. And so I open up assignment number 2, and it's from some math course or something, and I go, what the heck is this? So I very quickly send off an email to you saying, dude, I don't know what the heck this is, but this is not assignment 2 in this course. You need to resubmit. Now, what happens if you decide to go on vacation that week, and it takes you, 4 or 5 days to finally get around to reading the email? Well, man, 5 days late, that's going to be like a 75, right? Okay. And don't plagiarize or cheat, because that'll just annoy me. Okay, so just a little bit about me. Hi, I'm Emmett Gray. I'm going to be your professor. I worked out at Fort Hood as a civilian. I wasn't in the Army. I just worked for them as a civilian. Retired, 6 years ago. And I'm a total computer geek to the max. I write computer software for fun. Okay? So I have a very strange set of educational background. I have degrees in mathematics and engineering, plus the computer kind of stuff. I'm not a PhD, so don't call me Dr. Gray. I also have a gazillion Microsoft and CompTIA certifications that you're probably not interested in. I'm what's called a visiting lecturer. That's kind of a strange title because it makes it sound like, I was just stopped in, I thought I'd teach a class. But regardless of what the title is, I'm not a full professor, an associate professor, one of those kind of guys. I do have an office this semester at 323 N, and I have my phone number there. I almost always prefer that you would send me email over the phone. I don't particularly like talking on the phone. I'm not at the office that enough to make that really a viable option. So please send me Canvas email, or if that doesn't work for some reason, then you can just send me a university email. Okay, so enough about me. Later on in one of the things that we're going to ask you to do is to do a weekly journal, and I'm going to ask you some questions about where are you on this scale. And so the scale goes from a 1 to, oh my God, why on earth did I sign up for this course? I am so lost. To the other end of the scale, which is, I could teach this class with my eyes closed. I imagine most people are going to be in the middle, in the 3 and the 4 range, where, I got some of the prerequisites, and maybe I already know a little bit about how corporate and IT stuff works, or somewhere in that range. So I'm going to ask you this question in an upcoming thing. Okay, now we've reached the end of this part of the presentation, and I'll tell you a secret. I don't like PowerPoint. And in fact, this will be the last PowerPoint you'll probably ever see in the entire course. I do not read slides to you. That's not the way I teach. So this is it for right now. Now, we're going to have another video coming up immediately. We're going to go through the actual course itself in Canvas and where all the parts are and how to operate it. So stay tuned, and we'll get to that in just a second.